Okay, welcome back to the Critical Rogues YouTube channel. Today I just have a brief video for Dungeon Masters and player discussion, as I'm real curious how, if at all, you approach the idea of homebrew enemies and monsters in your campaigns. With the one-shots and adventures that you run, specifically enemies, monsters, and NPCs. For anyone not familiar with the term homebrew in Dungeons and Dragons, it's basically rules, enemies or enemy traits, unique NPC characteristics, monster types, spells, or even lands, concepts, or worlds that are not official or published by Wizards of the Coast. And as someone who started playing Dungeons and Dragons with AD&D, second edition, the original, the third edition, fourth edition, and now fifth edition, I've lived through a lot of Dungeons and Dragons evolution. And originally there were only three playable classes: the fighting man, the magic user, and the cleric, with the thief coming a little later. And the official enemies and monsters were very few and far between, and any creative dungeon master of the day was already heavily experimenting with homebrew creatures, monsters, rules, and adding other classes based on their imaginations, made modifications to spells and more. And in retrospect, the game itself seemed almost inviting you to do that due to its limited scale and scope. And don't get me wrong, it was amazing. Especially for the day, and it immediately enthralled me, but there always seemed to be something missing, and just inviting you to fill it in with imagination and creativity. And I was happy to do that for my players at the time. My understanding is that the new 2025 Monster Manual will have over 500 monster types. With the current manual, I think that we have as a little over 300, I believe, but even so, to me, there will always be room for many more through homebrew and modifying existing official monsters and NPCs. And let's face it, like our own world, the worlds we create are a lot more diverse and interesting than official content could ever satisfy. And that's completely understandable because of the scale and scope of a lot of extended campaigns. One of my personal reasons for homebrewing is because seasoned players already have a good idea about the characteristics, abilities, and tactics used by certain monster types. And on top of that, it doesn't take new players long to realize that tons of information is available online, and even in the official manuals about enemies that they might be facing in combat. And sometimes it's really hard to resist that temptation to check them out and kind of get an idea of what you might be facing. So while I do throw in mundane versions of these creatures, homebrewing helps keep my players on their toes. They learn quickly that just because they face, say, a mundane-looking hobgoblin, they tactically may need to approach the combat situation cautiously, as they truly don't know what it might be resistant to or capable of, because they know I homebrew. And I've never had a player who didn't ultimately enjoy this unknown factor. It keeps things energized and entertaining, and makes them more cautious and strategic when approaching things instead of just jumping right in, and adds a lot more fun to it on top of that. The hobgoblin, for example, that they faced 3 sessions ago might be radically different than what they are squaring up against now, even though they look the same, because of these homebrew factors. Now, this video is really for you to comment on and introduce ideas to me that you might have, and even each other, about how you approach homebrew enemies. And here's a chance to share with each other, and most likely also inspire other dungeon masters and players with your ideas. As with my previous video, I'm just going to throw out a few factors that I use personally for determining a homebrew creature, and then I'm going to let you all go crazy in the comments. And frequently, I will take environment into consideration. A monster type over time or over generations of reproduction may end up with benefits or certain resistances. And it might even make determining what they actually look like different if it comes with physical adaptations. So they might see a hobgoblin using that same creature that it's a little hard to tell if that's what it is because of these modifications and characteristics through homebrew, because of their environment. And some of the environmental things that I consider are climate, darkness, which may grant dark vision, proximity to a legendary creature, Maybe their lair is near the resting place of an ancient fallen deity or a powerful magical artifact that may grant magical resistances or immunities, especially to a specific type of magic. Or an environment that might be harsh enough to toughen the hide, making an enemy resistant to physical damage. So, just a few ideas I'm throwing out there to help get the conversation started. So, if you are a dungeon master, do you use homebrew? And if so, how and why? And if you're players, do you enjoy homebrew enemies? And if you've never experienced a campaign with homebrew monsters, would you like to and why? So have fun in the comments, and I truly look forward to reading them and responding to them, as well as seeing how other players respond to what you decide to present as they are inspired with your new ideas. And in a day or two, I'll also be posting a new video on the walkthrough section here in the Critical Rogues of my current campaign. I've posted one already, and if that sounds interesting to you, pop in, check it out. It should be entertaining. It might be something that you want to pursue yourself one day in the future. So thanks for participating, and have a great day.